Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John,
I'm Alex.
and we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Woo, sir. How we doing? We are back in action on the weekend. EPL is back. Feels like a million years ago since we've seen United lace up in the EPL. But on Sunday, the Manchester Derby, it's getting our crazy run of fixtures in October. 9 matches in October between EPL and the Europa League. And no bigger opposition, no better team in the Premier League that we're going to play this season than this Manchester City side, especially given their new addition, little lad called Erling Holland. I'm sure you haven't heard of him. He's already scored 10 goals, I think. Absolute monster. But we have Martinez, 5'9", killer from South America. How we feeling? How we doing? Good to see you, sir.
I mean, the big story for Manchester United is no major injuries off of this worthless international break, and our back line is going to be healthy. Can you deal with the Viking Norwegian monster that is Erling Holland? Is he going to be meditating at the empty had 5 times against Manchester United? A clash of titans, as you say. Probably a team with all the expectations, all the pressure, and man shitty. And a team on the rise with a new manager rebuilding the plane while they fly it is Manchester United. I love the underdog story. I love this spot as a Manchester United fan. You almost have no idea how this is going to go, especially after that weird Queen break plus international break. This is an unprecedented break in an unprecedented season where there's going to be so many fixtures. I just think we could steal one here because these teams haven't played a lot together. So I really do think there's an opportunity for Manchester United to sort of pip City here. There's also an opportunity for us to come out flat, given we haven't been together, that chemistry hasn't been able to build, and obviously Holland just dunking over Martin. I can just see it right now, the poster on the Daily Mail, Holland dragging his nuts on Martin's face while he dunks a header over David De Gea. I mean, it's either going to go one way or the other, a draw or a United scrappy win, or like City just blow us out. It can't go any other way.
Sir, it's a headline game. It's a huge match, like you said. It's unbelievable to think about it. We came out of the Arsenal match high form, right? But you believe it. Can't even believe it. I had to look myself at the schedule. We played them basically a month ago. The 3rd of October will be the match against City. It was the 4th of September when we played and beat Arsenal. So like you said, we had good form, but, the one thing that gives me some confidence is we had a really good international break, minus the England lads, the boys from France, from Portugal, from the Netherlands. Everyone put in a good contribution, which is good to see. Like you said, that back 4 is healthy. Varane, knock on wood, is going to be healthy for the Derby. And they're a high-flying team, sir. But one thing gives me confidence is the odds makers. We'll get into that in a bit. They're giving us no chance. And when everyone's writing United off, I feel like that's when we start to shine. And it's going to be big test for Erik ten Hag, right? Because he's going to have so many matches coming out of this game. Rotation is already going to be, I would think, in the top of his mind. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be about 3 points. It's all going to be about making a statement game, right? Beating Liverpool, that's fine. Beating Arsenal, whatever. Beating City, bro. This is a top City team, better than they were last year. So it's going to be a huge test for United, for the manager. And if you ask Richard Arnold and what's it called, Murtaugh, we're ahead of schedule, sir. So like the behemoth that is City, that's been just chugging along, spending cash for the last 10 years, but with precision, sir. What's to worry about? Dude, Murtaugh's got it. We're ahead of schedule.
Look, I mean, and also tactically how this game sets up. It will set up in how we've been playing effectively to date, which is City's going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to come at us. They're going to push up high on the pitch, and we're going to look to counter in behind through Eriksen, Bruno, and obviously that front 3 with a lot of pace. I think you're probably going to see something like Sancho, Rashford, and Anthony. I really think, it does set up for that quick counterattack in behind United score type of goal. Obviously, you're not going against Pep Guardiola light. You're going against the OG Pep. So it's going to be a really interesting fixture, and one where, the odds makers probably have it right, where City should be favored. but we've seen it again going to the empty ad. For some reason, a scrappy Manchester United side can leave with a result, and that's what I'm banking on. A tough test for United starting a tough October. But on the flip side, say, this game doesn't go our way, there's plenty of fixtures for us to regain our form. So it's not going to be just meltdown city out of the gate, but one where it's the derby. You're up for it. All I want to see is Martinez put in some spicy tackles. I want to see the lads working their socks off. And I have no doubt that they will do so under our new manager, the bald man, Eric Ten Hag.
Our own bald fraud. It's true, sir. Like I think that's a really good point. It's like if we win, that'll provide some really good momentum going into October. And if we lose, there's enough opportunities. Also, it's a good side and depends always. We talk about this in the pod constantly. It's the matter in which you lose. It's not just losing, but if we put out real heart and conviction and a good performance and still lost, that's one thing. Or compare that to last season when we lost to them 2-0 after the Liverpool massacre. That was a different thing altogether. So either way, there'll be opportunities for us to kind of turn the ship. We have Europa League next Thursday against the team from Cyprus or Ammonia, but this is the game that everyone cares about. This is the city match. I always feel like we have a chance in their house when they're this pumped up, right? I think they're having like 7.5 times odds for them right now in this game. So it's a big one, big test for Eric, but we're in high confidence. This is a solid squad. It's going to be about, the biggest question mark for me is that back four. We know who's playing. I think you just did pick that front three. I think he's going to go for speed in the counter. But it's who do you play on the holding position? Do you play Casemiro or do you stick with Scotty McSauce?
You stick with Scotty McSauce because he hasn't lost the job yet.
That's
I think
right.
That's what Eric Ten Hag is going to tell the boys all about. Once you earn it, it's yours until you lose it. Quick PSA for the podcast. You like the American Red Devils? We are for fans, by fans. We are a small-time operation, just me and Alex doing this for the love of the game. And obviously, we could have a bunch of sponsors on the pod. We decided not to go that route and be hawking all these hysterical items. Don't need to go through the list. You've heard all the other podcasts. We just go the Patreon route. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a way for you to directly support us so we can just skip those annoying ads. You can check out our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/American Red Devils. You can support us from anywhere from $1 a month. It's really cheap. We're looking to get 100 Patreon subscribers to get behind-the-scenes podcast episodes, a bunch of other perks, discounts on our merch, and obviously we do that behind-the-scenes episode like I mentioned. Check out our Patreon page. Support us. We believe in the for fans, by fans mantra there. Also, check out our website, AmericanRedDevils.com. Great blog content. For fans, by fans. Check out our store, AmericanRedDevils.store. We have great merchandise, scarves, shirts, beanies. It's also hoodie season. We have a great American Red Devils logo hoodie. You should check it out. Everything you buy supports the podcast and keeps the lights on at this small-time operation. Sir, tell them about iTunes reviews.
Great call out. It is officially fall. Pick up one of our great American Red Devil hoodies or blankets. It's officially the season. Speaking of other ways to support the pod, writing reviews, writing a 5-star review wherever you listen to the American Red Devils is a great way to support us. It doesn't cost any money, helps us get found organically by other fans like yourself. And even better, we're giving away free ARD merch from now until the end of time. All you have to do is write a 5-star review wherever you listen and send a screenshot to AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I will personally pick, pack, and ship some free ARD gear, send it right to your door anywhere in the world. Just send an order out to England, one out to Ireland, and they're writing 5-star reviews just like this one from E2408. This is the one, a great podcast for the greatest team ever. Glory, glory, Man United. The American Reds go marching on. They are so informative and fun to listen to. Just found you guys 2 weeks ago and loving it so far. Can't wait to watch the season unfold and listen to you guys recap about it. I have a feeling this season is going to be a fun one. Keep up the great work. Eric E. from Santa Clarita, California. Thank you, Eric, for the great review, and thank you for all the top Reds sending out reviews for the American Red Devils podcast. We're at 500 or very close to on iTunes. Just saw it, sir. It looked like it was $4.99, but we'll call it 500 among friends. Thank you for all the fans that helped get us there.
It was 500.
It dipped back down. I'm on the page.
Unless somebody deleted one, I screenshot it. But then we need one more review.
That's right.
And also we got to call out. Hey, this is episode 400 of the American Red Devils podcast. Big shout out to everyone who's listened and supported us throughout the years. We've built this amazing community. We love doing it. We are not stopping. 500 is going to be on the list. We have much more exciting things to come. And let's hope United plays some good football in the month of October. Let's get into this match, sir. Actually, before we get into the match, you want to break down the table. I don't look at this until after Christmas, so
I know you
I'll
don't.
cover my eyes, I'll cover my ears, and you can run through it.
So I'm going to do a quick. Where is it?
I love this game.
Shout out to all the America Red Devils. Shout out to the America Red Devils. 400 podcasts. Couldn't have done without you. Getting better every day. I'm hoping by 500, sir. We're talking, I don't know about titles, but silverware, Europa League, I'll take it, whatever you can get. But this pod is just so much fun. And it's a huge part of it is because the community that you guys are all part of is so terrific. So we're looking at that table just to get some context. It's been about a month since we talked about it. The Gunners, high-flying Gunners, are still top with 18 points. City right behind them with 17. Spurs are right behind them, just on goal differential with 17 as well. Then it's Brighton. They're looking for a new manager, or at least they appointed a new one. Their boy went to Chelsea. They're at 13 points, and we're right behind them at 12 points. Fifth place. We got Fulham behind us. Chelsea, Liverpool, Brentford, Newcastle. That's the top 10. The only thing that matters is we got to win this weekend. We're in the top 4.
Game in hand. You got to talk about the game in hand.
Good point,
teams
sir.
have played more than us.
Very good point. Arsenal played
I
7
didn't
games.
listen to anything you said.
Good. That's smart. You should never listen to anything I say. City have played 7. Spurs have played 7, and then Brighton and us have played 6. So very good point. We have a game in hand, but this is the game of games. Man City versus Man United at the Etihad. Huge match, sir. If we can get a result, I think even a draw would be a big result for this United side.
Sir, when you play the Game of Thrones, you live or you die, and that is where we are headed, to the Etihad Stadium. That's right, our next match, Manchester City versus Manchester United, Sunday, October 2nd, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. Love that kickoff time. The noisy neighbors, the powdered blues, the baby bitch blues, Pep Guardiola. Love watching him cry on the touchline. Look, this one versus City, lifetime, we've won 77, drawn 53. We've lost 57. First time we ever played them, October 1891. It was Ardwick versus Manchester United. We beat them 5-1 in the FA Cup. Let's remember where we came from. Ardwick, what a name. They changed it to Manchester City to compete with Manchester United after John Henry Davies, who had bought the club, changed the name. He was the first person to understand the regional marketing with football, came up with the name Manchester United, famously sourced from the fans. And then Ardwick was just getting slapped around, and they realized, hey, we need to have that same appeal. They changed their name to Manchester City. Now, a little history between these clubs. Manchester City was actually doing very well until they got caught in a match-fixing scandal, which allowed United to sort of buy a bunch of their all-star players. That led to our first league title, our first FA Cup in the early 1900s. So we have to thank City for being a shady team. They've always been a shady team since the beginning of time, since the beginning of the sport. And we were able to capitalize on that. Now, I feel like if financial fair play was correctly implemented, like it should have been with Man City and their new ownership, nationalized ownership, like they would have broken up their team and we might have been able to buy some players on the cheap and then go on a run. But UEFA has no teeth. And right now they were able to get through it. I believe the rationale was because the documents came to them through illicit means, which means that the documents that proved that they were committing crimes were stolen. So therefore they couldn't be charged for those crimes. So City's always been that type of way. And Manchester United has always been for the people and until the Glazers bought them. But we will dispatch them soon enough.
Truly the people's club, sir. It's a really interesting story. Like you said, City being the top club right around the turn of the century, them having all the scandals around match fixing and overpaying players, and then us basically just like scalping their entire attack when we had already built a really solid midfield and defense under Mangal. It's one to watch. City, like you said, hey, they want to act like they're a big club. They ain't no big club. They can't even sell their stadium, but they're run like a top side, so you can't argue against that. They are run like United should be run.
No, but my whole point is that history repeats itself, and the same thing happened with Man City, right? They're always a follower. They're always trying to be shady in some way. You go to 1900 match fixing. It was the FA that put the rules down on them, which made them have to get rid of players. You fast forward 100 plus years later, they're breaking the financial fair play rules by overstating sponsorship revenue, injecting illicit cash into the club,
Making up
buying
sponsors
players they shouldn't be able to buy because they don't have the same revenue that is Manchester United, right? And then they get off scot-free because UEFA doesn't want to charge PSG. It doesn't want to charge Man City, but these ways are in the fabric of the club, just like Manchester United's ways were to rise from the ashes after the Munich air disaster in 1958. The fairy tale story of this amazing club, the history of this amazing club compared to the shoddy, shady, back dealing, match fixing, FFP breaking Man City. There's so much here to this rivalry. You just have to say it. United, wear the red shirt, wear the badge, sir. There's a lot behind that, and there's nothing behind that baby bitch blue kit that they got over there. And no matter how many goals Holland scores in us, they can't take it from us.
No, that's right. And it's I could go on a diatribe about City and their lack of kind of general integrity around being a club, but your comment is just too interesting to not follow up on it, which is like the FA had more teeth in 1903 than they had in 2003. Because in 2003, they let Chelsea be bought by an effective war criminal. They let United be LBO'd and just like taken into the cleaners. And obviously, they let City be acquired and just be a form of sports washing for the last decade. So that's a curious one because now the FA don't do nothing. They just say like whoever wants to come in and buy our storied clubs, they can. They can do whatever they want with them. They've kind of like trying to act like they're putting a foot down more recently around like the Saudi acquisition and Chelsea sale. But either way, City, they've always been a shady club. And maybe the FA should like step up again and protect the integrity of the football institution because, hey, they seem to be 100 years ago and they certainly calm things down in the sake of money.
No, absolutely. And last five versus Man City, lost three, drawn one. 1-1. So look, it's not looking good. They're the juggernaut now. The noisy neighbors. They won't turn off the music. Last five for them in the league and the Champions League, which is a nice league that they play in and we don't. They smacked Nottingham Forest 6-0. They drew Aston Villa 1-1. They beat Sevilla 4-0. They were going to play Tottenham, but that was postponed for the Queen. They beat Dortmund 2-1, and they beat Wolves 3-0. They have sort of stumbled, though, with that Aston Villa draw. It's kind of been ups and downs for them. I think they're learning how to fit Holland in the side. I think Ten Hag has had a lot of time to think about this game. I think you neutralize Holland, you neutralize City, at least the way they're trying to play these days, and that isn't easy because you see that Viking rage run he's got, where he just looks like a beast in behind the back line. And oh, by the way, there's some people that can pass to him pretty easily, and KDB, the roster's just, sorry, I'll tell you, a lot of cramping in the center backs. Give you a lot of leg cramps in our back line.
Tell you what, we should have let him buy Harry Maguire when they were sniffing around for him when we overpaid for him. But sir, their squad is just the product of discipline and having a plan and obviously spending. But I know we talk about this a lot. The spend versus us versus them is comparable. It's just like they've had a plan. They haven't overplayed for that many players. They obviously have. Grealish is not worth £100 million. But what I'm getting at is just like that takes time to get a squad this stacked and also this deep. What's scary about this team is like their first 11 is amazing. Their second 11 is pretty good too. But I think the storyline that you talked about, it's all around that. They are now like a Holland-fixated team. If we can kind of nullify him to a certain extent, which, like you said, is not easy to do. The guy's a beast. He's kind of a new molded player that we really haven't seen before. If they could stifle him a little bit, that gives us a fighting chance. But like you said, they also have KDB. They have fullbacks that got a banger in them. They got Mahrez. It's a good team. Bernardo, excuse me. So big test for United, but the thing that gives me a little confidence is we're playing at Etihad, and I think it helps. Like they don't have real home atmosphere. They never sell out. I mean, that's astonishing. They've won like 5 of the last 6 titles, sir, and they still can't sell out the stadium. So I always feel like when we're playing there, we got a chance, right? There was that game under Jose where we obviously came back at halftime. The 0-2, they had the fucking balloons up at the roof. They were ready to celebrate the title. And that was probably Paul Pogba's best game he ever played for Manchester United. I like playing the spoiler. Let's play the spoiler, sir. No one's going to give us a chance in terms of the pressers. So obviously ARD, American Red Devils, we're all behind United. We got a chance, more than a chance.
Pep is playing the 4-3-3. Obviously, Ederson, the neck tattoos at the back. You mentioned it. Cancelo, the left back, is unbelievable. The midfield of KDB, Bernardo Silva, and Rodri doing all the work. And you got Jack Grealish. Jack, give me another Dark Ale Grealish. Erling Holland, and Phil Foden. I'm not that afraid of this team on paper. I mean, the midfield is probably the one I am. But you look at our midfield, and obviously Rodri's probably is better than McTominay. But you have Bruno, you have Eriksen. I feel like Eriksen can go toe-to-toe with KDB in his current form. Bruno can go toe-to-toe with Bernardo Silva. And our front three, our wingers are probably better than, City's wingers. And obviously no one's better than Holland. So it isn't quite as unbalanced as the bookies call it. Also, they're putting John Stones in the back line. So there's going to be opportunities for United. I always feel like whenever we play them, it's a little nervy for them because, like you said, you can be this big team, you can win the league, but you don't have those fans. And the fixture is like, it's a big fixture. It obviously wasn't, if you're watching United back 20 years ago, like we were, it was always the Scouts Bastards was number one. But I feel like for them, this is like one of their big games. And sometimes they play a little nervy. It's going to be really interesting coming off this break and see kind of who has the advantage. I think it kind of levels the playing field for Manchester United. Speaking of leveling the playing field, injuries will do that to you. Donny van de Beek, he has a knock, not like we're seeing a lot of them anyway. Marcus Rashford, he had a thigh injury, but he should be back. It should be good to go. Palestri, he did go to Uruguay, so he's back. Brandon Williams, he's getting drunk at the club, doing interviews about Harry Maguire. Dubravka, he was injured on international break, and then Martial, we have not got an update on it. Ten Hag will do his presser. There will be a big update on all these injuries, so take them with a grain of salt. Right now, I would only say the only person who is really out is Dubravka because he was injured on international break. Everybody else, we just have to wait for that Ten Hag presser. He will update who's available. But given those are the injuries we know about, what is your lineup?
Sir, this is who I've got for my lineup. I got obviously De Gea net. It's the back four. And I ain't changing. Delo, Varane, Martinez, Malacia. I'm going to switch things up, even though I think Eric Ten Hag's going to do something differently. But I'm going to go for the Casemiro Fred. Kind of like stifle him, and then counter. Bruno, Sancho, Rashford, and Antony. You bring on Eriksen a little later. You bring on Ronaldo a little later. He might not do that. He probably won't do that, but you know what? Why not? That's what I got. What do you got, sir?
I'm just going to take out our great midfield and put in some liabilities there. That's an interesting plan. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. I'm going to go with Dave saves world number one in net. Delo, Varane, Martinez, Malacia. McTominay has earned the spot. He keeps the spot. Eriksen's been lights out for Denmark. He's in top form. Got to be playing him. Bruno, Sancho, Rashford, Antony. Look, it's going to be a tough one. Do you want to give us the odds?
The odds, sir, I haven't seen United this much of an underdog in a long time. They have City, obviously the favorites, minus 310. The draw at plus 450. And then there you go, United to win, plus 750, sir. Almost 8 times your money if you think the Reds are going to pip, those City Blues, sir, which we're Manchester United. And we're this Manchester United. Last year, we never had a chance. This year, you saying we got a chance? I think we do.
All right, given that those are the odds, what is your score prediction?
3-2, thriller Manila. United get the victory. It's probably optimistic. I think more likely it's a draw, but hey, I can't help the muppetry, sir. It's a Monday morning. I'm feeling frisky. 3-2 United. What you got?
I got like 1-1.
Yeah.
I got a Muppet draw here. Just a prayer of a draw. Holland, I'm just, having nightmares about Erling Holland, sir. Just, he's the storyline we haven't talked about, but and everyone gets upset because they always push back. But again, when the history of this deal, this will be written, and everyone's going to know that Erling Holland was at Molde when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the coach of Molde. He referred Holland as a prospect to Manchester United that early. Then we all know he came as our interim manager. He tried to get United to sign him from Molde directly, which would be a £3 million fee. There was no buyout clause at that point. He was just a prospect. John Murtaugh, he was in charge of the academy. He was the one making the call to the agent. He mixed up the time zones. We did not purchase Erling Holland. Then we had another chance to get him after that, and he famously went to Dortmund. And the reason for that was I think there was a buyout clause that we didn't want to have in the contract. That was an Ed Woodward decision, passed again, and then we passed again when he went to Man City. So on all the way up, we had 3 looks at him. By far, the number one look was the £3 million unheard of player out of Molde that would turn into the Viking beast that is Erling Holland, and he would be a Manchester United player if Murtaugh took his job seriously. Missing a call like that is so unprofessional and something where I can't take him seriously as our director of football just because of that situation. That is fired. That's a $150 million error. Worked on a lot of things in my career. Don't think I've ever made a $150 million error and got a promotion.
Well, so this is what we talk about. It's like you look at Bowley, he's rumbling, stumbling down in Chelsea, but he's looking for at least a real deal DOF. If you have this on your resume, and he had nothing else on his resume, it's not like John Murtaugh was like an accomplished man in terms of really anything. He should have gotten fired from the club and thrown out on his backside. And instead, he is the director of football of Manchester United. I know in name only because he probably has really no power away from the Glazers and Ed Woodward number 2. But like you said, you can't take him seriously because they're not, dude, he's not a serious DOF and you don't have a serious CEO. So it's like both those guys are not qualified. We talk about this ad nauseum. This is a great example, right? Prove it. You have an opportunity to sign one of the greatest prospects in the modern era and you bottled it, right? You have an inside fucking track with Ole to be sign this guy, Norwegian, and they bottled it. And this guy bottled it individually. Well, he doesn't deserve to be anywhere near the club. And if the club is ever sold, which I'm praying that they are, he will be the first one fucking sacked. It's they'll be like, what's your CV? Oh, you've done nothing and you bottled the Holland deal? You're out. You're out, bro. Go pick up the balls. That's all I got to say about that.
All right, so let's get into the news. United in the news. We have a quick financial update for you here.
How are we looking?
On the Manchester United finances. Well, if anyone is tracking the pound sterling to the U.S. dollar,
yeah.
the value of the dollar is just rising internationally. The pound is cratering, so there's never been a better time to go buy a meat pie out in England. I think what you're seeing is the full realization of probably a lot of forces here. But the impact on that, as we realized from the finances, was there was a huge explosion in the cost of financing the debt for Manchester United, the interest debt, because the Glazers are so smart. They borrowed the debt in US dollars, and obviously Manchester United makes pounds. And when the value of the pound goes down 20%, the cost of the debt swings with it. And this debt from their financial statements is unhedged USD borrowings. It's unhedged.
That's insane.
As of June 30th, 2022, the United States debt is unhedged. And, obviously they normalize this out of the financial statements because foreign currency trading is not part of the business, but not having it hedged is not smart. So as you see the value of the pound go down, you're seeing the cost of the debt go up for Manchester United, which is, again, insane to run a company this way. But it's just 5 siblings who inherited this from their father that don't really treat it seriously. And this is not good for Manchester United. That just means the amount of money that we're paying in real terms increases. although it is unhedged forex losses and can be attributed to the business model of Manchester United, it still is a real cost to the income statement, and it's not good. So just another point to make. We point that we didn't have a real DOF. We point to the fact that how the business is run and how they're creating headwinds for operating this club. It's time for them to go. It's time for them to sell. Hashtag Glazers out.
So a great point. Anytime we can remind the good folks at home about what the true problem is, it's the Glazers. So they don't care. They're incompetent. They've got the most, over their skis individuals running the club, including themselves. The Glazers are not qualified to even own this lovely, storied franchise and institution. But hey, is what it is, sir. It's only going to make things more challenging, as you said. I think the pound ain't done sliding from the looks of things. So that's going to make things even more expensive and take more money out of the coffers to spend on transfers. Because if you listen to the guys in charge, the guy who bottled the Holland deal, he's like, we are ahead of schedule. We didn't really talk about that, sir. The head of schedule comment is quite a comment.
Dude, you bottle Holland and you pay how much for Anthony?
Exactly. Exactly.
So I like Anthony, but let's put it in perspective. Like Holland probably cost, though, obviously on the books, it's like 60 something million. His dad had to get 30. There's a lot of different payouts on the side. So like Holland wasn't 60. He was probably like 140, 150.
Right.
Ultimately with all, you got to pay off all the family members, etc. So, Anthony was cheaper, but you got to look at those two and be like, best player in the world. He does have a buyout clause, though. Holland does have a buyout because I imagine it's just going to be a tour where he like dunks on everyone in the EPL. In 3 years, he goes to Real Madrid or insert Barca, whoever. So it's going to just be in the new era of player power. It's really interesting to see how his career will develop. Next bit of news here: Manchester United plan to trigger option for 12-month extension on Marcus Rashford's contract. If they're unable to agree on a new contract with him. So essentially they're trying to negotiate a new contract. If they can't get that one, they're going to extend the option for 1 year further. PSG's interested. This is a no-brainer to extend Rashford. We're talking about not having a lot of number 9 options. Martial's injured. We have Rashford who can play left wing and number 9. Ronaldo has another year as number 9. We can extend Ronaldo for another year. But again, Murtaugh said we're not going to be spending like we have this window, and we didn't buy number 9. We didn't buy right back. So you got to keep who you got, and that's just going to be more of the same for Manchester United because you look at the financial situation, and they squeezed a lot out of this orange, so we're kind of stuck with what we got, and this extension is going to be the move. Extending Rashford over the long term is going to be the move. You could debate if that's the right move for Manchester United, but it's the cheapest move for Manchester United, and that's what the Glazers are all about.
And I think usually the cheap move is the right move, at least in their mind. I think that justified the Phil Jones contract extension. Can you believe he got a new contract only 3 years ago? This is one where, I hope they never even get to the trigger. The trigger is kind of like, almost feels like a sign of weakness for a player who's got this much left in terms of his tenure. So I hope they get a deal done, get it figured out. Like you said, we need more options. We need more signings. But at the end of the day, I like to think Marcus Rashford's got a really good career ahead of him at this club. Seems to be finding top form under the new manager. Who gives a shit if Gareth Southgate doesn't rate him? Gareth Southgate looks like he's going to be fighting for his job over the next couple months. So England's loss is our gain. Let's get him locked up. There's a couple other players that are really important in terms of the contract negotiations coming in to next summer, one being Delo. He's certainly a player that's earned himself another contract. We talked about Fred. We talked about De Gea. We don't need to talk about it right now, but get Rashford signed up, like you said. He can play on the left.
He makes $200,000 a week, sir.
Right, so he's going to want to go to 3, I would think. I think if you get him at 3,
he's not. But the whole for me, the issue is, it's the increase, right? So it's like you want to talk about contract extension. He hasn't performed well, and he's probably going to want a raise,
50% raise.
Right?
He's going to want to get to at least $300K, I would think.
And that to me is just like, it's
the game, bro.
So wait, so you're going to reward players that underperform? That's where my issue is. And maybe if it was just Marcus and we're like, Mank born and bred, like got to have Marcus at Manchester United, give him like 275. Fine. It's not great. He probably hasn't earned it on the pitch, but you know what he means to this club. There's a factor of that, but you have Martial, you have Luke Shaw, you have Harry Magoo. You argue you could put De Gea in that camp, right? So you're just going to keep giving bumper deals to players that are not like hitting certain levels, and that's where it gets into the whole point where we have to do it because the Glazers are not going to go out and buy another winger. They're not going to go out and buy number 9. So we're just stuck with our existing players and rewarding ultimately mediocrity, right? Like imagine if we give Martial an extension just because, right? That's the kind of situation we're in at the moment.
Cheap and good, sir. That's the motto as it relates to the Glazers. Woodward, second Woodward. This one, it's not necessarily like you're my mind, you're rewarding mediocrity. It's just like what value can he justify elsewhere?
You're not rewarding mediocrity.
If you let me answer, if you let me like explain my answer before you interrupt me. Like he could go and get paid $250, $300K at PSG or in Spain or maybe even at another club in England, one of the top clubs. So like if you want to keep him, you need to pay him. So I agree with you. Like, but everybody in this squad has underperformed before the new manager came in. You could scrap every single one of them.
That's the excuse. It's just last year
he could go. The excuse is he could go elsewhere, and if you want to keep him, you have to pay him. So like that's pretty simple to me. You know, Martial gets paid more. What the fuck has Martial done? Who's done more over the last 2-3 years?
He got £5 million a goal last year.
I'm not arguing that, sir. No one should be standing behind their performance last season. Last season was abysmal. One of the worst United seasons since we were relegated in the early 70s. So, like, I'm not saying that he's earned a new salary or a new contract, but if you want to keep him, which I think we should, you have to give him one because that's just the nature of the business, and there's no getting around that. So, like, he's not going to take a flat contract when Martial gets paid more. Bruno just got a contract, and you're paying, like, David De Gea almost 400,000 pounds a week to let balls in. So, I just think we're kind of stuck with our hands behind, tied behind our back because at this moment, we don't have a lot of options, and we're not going to go spend elsewhere. So, born and bred Marcus Rashford, you probably want to keep him around.
Bruno's. So here's the thing: Bruno's on 240, and this is obviously per Sport Track. Casemiro's on 300, Varane's 340, Sancho's 350, De Gea's 375. Ronaldo's 515. So yeah, you're right. If you're looking at Jadon Sancho at 350, Rashford's
which is crazy.
I'm under. But that's what
that's also crazy, right? That's also crazy. Well, why is Jadon Sancho at 350? I mean, obviously we needed to pay him to come to Manchester United, but that's big money.
Cool. But again, bad business decision. You blow up the structure of your wage bill, and now you're gonna have to pay players more, and they're not necessarily performing, right? And that. I mean, I have to say, shout out to Delo for making $25,000 a week. Scotty McSaw, $60,000 a week. Phil Jones makes more money.
I know he does.
A week than
100, right? Doesn't he make 100?
No, it's $75K a week. So very interesting stuff here for Manchester United, and it's not an easy one. We're in an interesting spot, so. We'll keep you posted on the Marcus Rashford contract details. Next one here is actually a statistic that we should just discuss. Manchester United's record this season, starting with Varane and without. So he played 5 games with Varane and 3 games without. In the 5 games Varane has started, we've scored 1.8 goals per game and we conceded 0.4. In the games we haven't started Varane, we scored 0.3 goals and conceded 2.3. Obviously, not a large sample size, but he looks to be the difference maker. Obviously, Martinez would slot alongside him as well, but Martinez did play with Harry Magoo. So, Varane looks to be the difference maker. If he's healthy, can we keep this up?
No, it's a good point, sir. I'm glad you caveated it appropriately. It is a small sample size, but if you even look at the 3 games versus the 5 games with Varane factoring in, one thing. He's probably finding some confidence under the new manager. He's at match fitness. He's got a really good center back that complements him well next to him, which, Harry Maguire don't, or doesn't provide at least. And you know what? I think this is going to be one of the big things for us to be hopeful of. Is like we can keep Varane fit. We've got a fighting chance. Certainly a fighting chance at top 4. He's just such a difference maker in terms of calmness on the ball, the experience that he offers. He's a top-class defender at the end of the day. He's big. He's a leader. He's exactly what we need. He's exactly why we signed him. Exactly why we paid him top dollar. Right? I think he's around 350. Right? If Sancho's getting that, I'm sure Varane's getting that. So, dude, he's top-class player, and he's still got years in his tank. If we can keep him fit, that is the question. If we can keep him fit, United's different. United's defense is like a totally different side. He changes the game.
No, absolutely. And then when we're talking about salaries, you have to kind of put them in context of like global sport, where if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you're making $40 million a year.
40 mil.
And then obviously you go to like MLB, it's guaranteed money. NFL, it's kind of gets blurred without guaranteed money. So these wages, in my opinion, have room to go up, especially with the value of the pound going down. But not as far as Manchester United is concerned, because we're paying so much money, we're losing money at the moment. Eric Cantona, he gave an interview to The Athletic. A few quotes here we could talk about. He said, quote, "I met Ed Woodward a few times, but they didn't accept me becoming Manchester United's president of football." He says, quote, "I think me or somebody else, Manchester United should have me or somebody else as the president of football at Manchester United." And obviously, we've seen Edwin van der Sar do a great job at Ajax. Cantona would be a great president of football. My fear is it doesn't matter who the president of football is when you have the Glazers.
No, that's right. I don't know if he'd be the right fit. I like how he caveats it, or somebody else. He's just like, you need somebody as your president of football. I'll tell you what, his somebody else is not John Murtaugh. Nobody wants John Murtaugh. he is not a director of football, but I love Cantona. What a player he was for this side in the 90s, pushing Fergie and Manchester United to their first title in 26 years. Dude, the flair, the arrogance, just like he was a dog. If we talk about that in the modern philosophy, he's a dog player. And we just need more of that. We need more players that are going to come back to United and not just like recite the party line. Like you see that in MUTV. I need someone that you're never going to get better if you have everyone telling you around you telling you just like how great of a job you're doing, and you don't need to do nothing differently. You need someone who's willing to like call it out, call it straight. Cantona's always been that type of personality. I guarantee you Edwin van der Sar doesn't fucking skimp around when he's talking to the Ajax board around what needs to be done and what needs to be worked on. And like that's what's wrong with this club, bro. Glazers have surrounded themselves with sycophants that are willing to just tell them exactly what they want to hear. Ed Woodward is one of those people, and I guarantee you Ed Woodward does the same thing. Richard Arnold probably just told him exactly what he wanted to hear, how smart he was. We need some people to come in and like shake things up, bro. And like that's why they fucking booted Ralph Rangnick to the curb. I do think Erik ten Hag has that personality. It's just how long will they put up with being told something differently than they believe?
Sir, they don't talk about Manchester United. They don't listen to anything about Manchester United.
Nothing.
Another quote here. He says, Cantona, quote, "If one day they do change that," referring to the name of the stadium, "I'm sorry, but from that day I will not be a Manchester United fan anymore, and I'm quitting football forever. Please don't call this Nestle Stadium or Amazon. Please, Old Trafford is Old Trafford."
What family in the Southeast, Northern Florida, who would do this? Who would sell the name rights to Old Trafford? I know one family that would.
Look, this is a cultural difference. In America, it's like every stadium is sponsored. It's just something that they do to help pay for the stadium. It doesn't offend me if stadiums have sponsorship names on them. Like, it here in San Francisco was at AT&T Park, Oracle Park, like whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, it's a revenue stream for the team, and hopefully the team invests that wisely. I don't think if they have a sponsor on the stadium, they're not going to call it Old Trafford. I mean, Manchester United, like their media and like podcasts would have to use the name, but obviously like we wouldn't. So I do think it is inevitable, just like it was inevitable for like sponsors to come on jerseys in America, right? You think of how foreign that was, where like in the NBA or the NHL, like the jerseys didn't have sponsors, and they're like, "Oh, it'd be such a travesty if you put sponsors on the jerseys." But we watch football in Europe, and there's jerseys right on the front of the team. The most important space on the shirt is covered in a sponsor. So I just think this is more cultural. So I'm fine with somebody sponsoring it, but the money has to go towards a new stadium, not towards a dividend or paying down debt for the Glazers' benefit, right? And this is where the problem is if the Glazers name the stadium, they're just going to take that money and then run.
That's right. If it was done for the greater good of Manchester United, that they're going to invest a lot of that money back, that wouldn't happen to the Glazers. They will never do anything better for the club that doesn't necessarily benefit them first. I do have a problem with this. I don't like it because, like, when you're talking about American stadiums, NFL are they're like a sacred class that is basically protected from having to spend any of their own money, whether it's on stadiums or they can sell the naming rights. They get big bonds from the local government to finance the stadium. And at the end of the day, the stadiums are like 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, 5 years old. This is a 120-year-old stadium. I think the only thing that's kind of comparable in the U.S. would be, I guess, baseball stadiums, sir. You keep me honest here. But, like, Fenway, they haven't changed their name to, fucking, like, I don't know, John Hancock Fenway Stadium. Same with Yankee Stadium, right? Like,
no, the green wall, the green monster is like has John Hancock on it. Yeah.
They didn't change the name of the actual stadium, right?
I have to Google that. Fenway Park sponsor.
Right. Same with Yankee Stadium, right? I know they redid the Yankee Stadium, but it's not like City Group.
Dude, they got obviously the one thing about
they sell every inch.
But it's just all over. It's like John Hancock's all over it. I don't know if it's not called John Hancock Stadium. But it's always been part of Fenway. I mean, like they ended it this summer, but you're right. Everyone calls it Fenway. It's just kind of one of those things where it's inevitable. Like it's a money business. They're trying to make money. It's just like the jerseys. Like the argument to not have sponsors on the jerseys in America was the same thing. Like, oh, it should be horrible if my hockey jersey had like a logo of a sponsor, and like they're everywhere. It's just like they're selling. It's like real estate. They're going to sell it. It's only a matter of time. Like if they're going to the Super League, then like the stadium name's coming. I mean, they're going to ruin the fabric of the sport. Like they're happy to sell the naming rights to the stadium. And then the next quote from Cantona, since Ferguson retired in 2013, the club doubled their revenue but didn't win anything. So imagine if you succeed in football and also have a great marketing department. And this is the best criticism. Doubled revenue. And we have record levels of net debt. We're losing money. And we haven't won anything. And that is the Glazer legacy. You have to consider that, right? They've never paid down the debt. They keep it the same amount. It's like you not paying your credit card for 10 years. The money was there to do so in the good times. Then the bad times, COVID hit. Then they put everything on the credit card. Now our wage bill is so high, we're losing money. Tons of debt, bad financial situation, and the top line grew. It's incredible how bad and how poorly this club has been run. And I got to give a shout out to Cantona for highlighting this. And he says the same thing we do. Like, you can do a good job on the pitch and still make money. Arguably, you will make more money. Like, you look at the Scouse Bastards, they're going to set the sponsorship jersey record, right? I think that's remember they went from New Balance to Nike, Standard Charter sponsor. Apparently, they're going to break the world record. They're going to make more money. The success on the pitch is going to lead to more money, something the Glazers don't understand.
I don't. It's always kind of when you have a figurehead as influential and as famous as Cantona breaking through the noise, something we talk about ad nauseum, sir. But like, if the club was just run by competent individuals, they could spend less, make more money, and have better performances on the pitch. Because at the end of the day, just look at the last fucking 12 months, like the whole Ole pulling him out, Ralph Rangnick, and then you have to pay out Ole, you have to pay out Ralph. You get nothing from Ralph because you just booted him to the curb after his like 8 months at the club. The transfer window alone, bro, you have transfer targets that you could have gotten probably for 30-40% less if you did it earlier in the window. It's not a well-run club because it's run by people that are just not qualified to do it, and I'm glad Cantona's calling it out. We've called it out, and that's the deal at the end of the day. Is like, Manchester United is owned by a family that doesn't take it seriously enough that they want to put expertise in the positions that is necessary for it to succeed, and that's where we're at right now because... So you're more qualified to run United than Richard Arnold is. I'll stand behind that all day.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, as a team, and we would have a weekly podcast talking about it. Next bit of news here: Sky Sports want to compete with Netflix to produce a Drive to Survive style documentary. So maybe if it would be on Netflix or Sky Sports, it's kind of this, hey, behind the scenes, make the Premier League more interesting. What do you make of this? I watched Drive to Survive. I can watch Drive to Survive. I can't watch Formula One, right? Because it's like this weird. Like I like cycling, and cycling's that type of sport where you got to like learn all the rules, and there's a lot going on. But with the F1, sorry to F1 fans, but it's like you drive before the race, and then you win that spot, and then like it's really hard to change. It's and there's a lot of rules and challenges and like sub rule sections, like and protests, and it just seems like this kind of racket of a sport. But somehow the Netflix series makes it like interesting, and that's like I can watch that, but I can't watch the actual races. For the Premier League, I feel like the opposite. I feel like the games are really exciting, and then like I don't know what Arteta dancing around to like speakers on the training ground. I don't know if that makes it more interesting. So this is it. This is a one where this is always going to be coming. They're always going to try to make more money, right? Sky Sports has the rights. They pay billions for them, and I'd watch it. But what do you think?
No, I agree with you, sir. I enjoyed, not even our team. I don't want cameras. Like I don't want a full Arsenal thing or a Leeds thing or whatever, in terms of having them be in the dressing room and at Carrington. Like I think that's super invasive and not good for the team. And ultimately, like, I don't think that puts Arsenal or Arteta in a better position. I think it made him look kind of like a buffoon, even though I am jealous of their front office because you could tell they're much more competent than the goons we have sitting around. But I would love this. It's like I can't comment on Formula One. I'm not a fan. I didn't see the Netflix documentary, but any show that kind of highlights a sport behind the scenes, whether it was that show Hard Knocks, right, on HBO with NFL, which is just kind of interesting. The lead show, the Sunderland shows, or the City one, the one with Arsenal, the one with Spurs. It's just like good content because I love the Premier League. I like the behind the scenes aspect. And if you had like one show that was kind of an overarching what's going on with the different clubs, and you get a chance to get in and see kind of back room at different spots of like, Brentford versus Arsenal versus City versus Chelsea versus Brighton, that would be kind of curious and fun to watch because anything about the Premier League I find compelling because it's such an interesting, exciting league and it's so competitive that, I like to see like kind of the differences between how clubs do things versus other clubs. So I'd be all about this.
No, I would be too. I'll tell you where I want cameras. I want cameras on the two idiots in Barcelona where they're sweating.
Sweating.
It's like sweating in those suits on the streets in Barcelona. Like, what are they doing out there? Just unbelievable. Like, and Frankie came out with a quote.
I know.
Do you see that this week?
Never wanted to leave. Never wanted to leave.
Yeah. So, like, not to just get back to like how insane Manchester United transfer season is. His quote: "I always want to stay at Barcelona this summer. The club has its own ideas, and I have my own idea. Sometimes this clashes with each other's, but things went okay." And those guys, Murtaugh and Arnold, went out to Barca to just get a photo of them looking like they have no idea what they're doing. So, in any case, if you needed to know that they had no idea what they were doing, they were there and photographed, which number one, if I was there, I wouldn't want to be photographed, right? That'd be a huge priority. And number two, he's drinking with fans rambling.
You wouldn't do that?
So that's 0 for 2 on the summer from our new CEO, and obviously lying on the investor call. It goes one more. Next bit of news here: De Gea contract extension. I think this is no brainer. We've talked about it. Who's going to play keeper for us? Apparently, El Block from Atletico is available. What do you think? Goalkeeper at Manchester United is one where I feel like all the hatred for De Gea kind of covers the cracks a little bit. Where when Van der Sar left, like one thing about Fergie, he never messed around with the goalkeeper. The position has changed, and Ten Hag probably has his view on what type of keeper he wants. but you do not switch without having someone who can do the job, right? So it's not like we can't extend De Gea to find the next keeper.
Totally. Like you need to have someone in sight, line of sight, agreement. You got to figure out a wage. Maybe they're coming on a free contract, or it's a young up and coming that you can get a deal on. Obviously, you don't want to be left in the lurch, and all of a sudden you're forced to play a De Bruyne and he gets injured. But like at the end of the day, you should extend his contract, but you should not extend his contract on $350 a week. Like didn't deserve that in the first place. Definitely doesn't deserve that now. If you look at his form over the last 3 years, it's been really bad. So like £200,000 a week, which is still a lot. That seems about fair, but maybe a 1 year.
I don't think
extension.
he's been bad. He
hasn't been great.
Momentary lapses that are horrific, right?
Well,
so but here's the thing: just like Martinez didn't play well against Brentford, right? De Gea didn't play well against Brentford, and then since Brentford, De Gea has played well, and Martinez has played. You get what I'm saying? So it's like.
Yeah, but that's just one game versus seasons. He's had like the Barcelona goals he gave up. How many?
He's
goals?
Also saved. So it's like I agree. He's not. Here's the problem: is like litigating the past on David De Gea is not the issue.
No,
the issue is he good enough to extend another year and then give us room to find another keeper? He's not the guy for the future, but you have to keep him around because you don't have another option. We haven't seen Dubravka yet, and you got to extend him to then get Oblak or somebody else, and I bet you they think Dubravka is going to be the starter. I bet you that's probably the thing. So who knows what they do here? And reject Newcastle keeper is our keeper. That's the type of Europa League club we are. Jumping to the fan questions at Ty Kircher, quote, feels like a long time since we played in the Premier League. Amen, brother. Do you guys think the team will be able to get back to the same form as they had leading into the missed games? I'm nervous. Let's see how much this team has grown. Hashtag Blazers out.
It's a good question. It's hard. It's been a month since Premier League action. We had the break extended because of the Queen, international break, whatever. I think I gave some confidence in two factoids. One is that we're playing as big of a side as we can, probably like removed to the Scouse Bastards. Argue this is a bigger match given they're the champions, and they're arguably a better side than the Scousers at the moment, and they have Erling Holland. And then the fact that we have had some good confidence with the international break in terms of players featuring and looking good. Eriksen, lights out. Bruno, Delo, Ronaldo even looking lights out. Varane looking incredible. So it's like that gives me some confidence. The boys going to be up for it. And, Erik Ten Hag has to know this is a huge run of games. You want to start it on the right foot. So coming out, even if you don't win, putting out a solid performance is critical to set the tone for the rest of the month.
I mean, good point, but Ty, it's like a crystal ball. At the end of the day, we always talk about international break. First of all, international breaks are the stupidest thing in the world. They have to literally they have to scrap this because think about it. Martinez is going to Argentina. I think he came to the United States, but ultimately, South Americans going back to South America, then back to Europe,
Crazy.
And it's absolutely insanity. And you add that onto the congested fixtures, so they just have to scrap it and do all the qualifying in one summer and then the tournaments the next. That's just the only way to do this. International breaks are just such a racket, and that's what it is. It's you're literally going to roll the dice. United's played. Think of under Ole, we played well going into international break, came back, played awful going to international break, played well coming out.
Yep.
So for me, it's almost I think it's impossible for us to play as well as we did going into it because all those vibes, all those feelings, the togetherness of the team, the momentum. I believe you just lose that. For me, it's probably when you play bad and you have the chance to reset. It might help you, but international break, if you have momentum, if you have those good vibes, I think it hurts you. So I think this is going to hurt us, especially considering we haven't had that much time with our new manager. We shall see. We kind of got lucky with no major injuries. It's flip a coin. That's the way I think about it. Next tweet at Bingo977, quote, hopefully many of them have played with their national teams that did well. As long as Varane, Martinez, and Eriksen are fit, then we have hope. And that is the case. And it's a great point. Delo had a brace for Portugal. He looks absolutely great. Eriksen looks sharp. Varane, like I said, just didn't get injured. Martinez didn't get injured. we're going to get the full slate injury updates this week from Eric Ten Hag. So I think surviving international break is a part of it. Also, we probably need to touch on quickly the U.S. men's national team got smoked by Japan.
Did you watch
Like-
it, sir?
Like I did not get up at 5 a.m. to watch it, but the stat sheet was like no shots on target. I think we gave away the ball like 16 times in our own half. Pretty miserable performance from the United States men's national team. I'm like I have a lot of hype on them just because the players are good. Just a weird one and not a good sign. We don't like the manager that much. That's a big result. We play Saudi Arabia Tuesday. It's again, then it's Saudi Arabia. Like you can tune up Saudi Arabia, but I think Iran beat Uruguay. England lost to Italy. So our group, like looking around our group, What do you make of that? Sorry, yeah, Iran beat Uruguay 1-0, and they're in our group. We lost to Japan.
It's hey man, you and I, we've kind of droned on ad nauseum around our manager for the U.S. national team. He's, feels like the front office of United, feels like the manager of England. He's just like, shouldn't be the manager, isn't good enough, doesn't have the CV, was picked for politics. There we are. He qualified. We talked about this, sir. That was the bar. Hey, you know what? You talked about the players they picked for the squad. They're big question marks, playing favoritism. That sounds like some other people we just talked about as well. It's a big test, but I feel like this is a great opportunity for United States to kind of get out of the group and make some noise because England are dying, bro. They're like a dead duck. Wales are dangerous, and Iran shouldn't really be an issue. So I feel like it's an awesome opportunity for the United States to have a really good tournament. But that being said, I'm not that confident we're getting out of the group because you got a manager that goes for like 90-minute, goes for jogs before the match, bro. The guy's like a numpty, like has no qualifications to be there, but there he is. So, sir, we're stuck with him. And if he gets out of the group, you're going to be stuck with Burheffer for like a decade, bro. He's going to be going to the next World Cup. So this is going to be a big test for him because there's no reason we should not be getting out of that group.
No, I totally agree. But it's just
Jordan
Morris,
Morris, bro. Jordan Morris is gonna be Jordan Morris, like barrel chest.
But this is so everyone knows the Men in Blazers. They follow them. They're big U.S. men's national teams supporters. Raj on that podcast said, "quote To have Jordan Pefok, a player with scoring goals at the top level in the Bundesliga, and to not know what to do with him is borderline embarrassing. Greg's commitment to his system is a club concept." In international football, you field the best players you have and make a system out of it, and that's the point. It's like our coach,
perfectly said.
Like better than us, right? They've been doing it a little. They've been doing it a little
better than us.
A little longer. They've been doing it a little longer and are much more invested in the U.S. men's national team side of things. But it's the same thing as Southgate.
Exactly.
If you look at the England players, you should be playing a 4-3-3.
Yep.
You have to play 4-3-3 because that is how an elite. You look at City, you look at how they should be playing. That's how England should be playing. They have all the players. The United States, he's again fitting our players into an MLS system, a weird warped system, and he's not taking the best players and finding the way to get the best out of them. That is what an international manager does, right? And that's Southgate does not do that, and Burkhalter does not do that. And we are seeing that. And we have one game until we kick off the World Cup. And the biggest concern I have as a United States fan is our first game is a must-win. Our first game is against Wales. Wales are literally our equivalent team, and we have to win that game. You'd be better off playing England first, because if you get anything out of that game, it's a win. And you're like, okay, we're here. We kind of got the nerves out. Wales is must win. And after losing to Japan, whew, that Japan result, shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. Not having watched it, but just looking at the score sheet, absolutely shocking.
0 shots on target, sir. You can't explain away that, That's just, it's damning. So you don't have a lot of chances to play yourself into form. Because like I said, the last game, then all of a sudden there's a sprint in all the leagues, and then we're in the desert, bro. And it's game on.
Yep. So any U.S. men's national team fans, let's sweat it. Let's hope we have a good game against Saudi Arabia. But World Cup's coming. We got to cover it. We'll kind of do these U.S. men's national teams tangents at the end of the podcast. That's it. That's the pod. Thank you to everyone who listens. Again, America Devils, we are for fans, by fans. You want to support us, please like, subscribe. Do everything you can for free. I mean, that's the best way to support us. Share the podcast. Again, it's just Alex and I. We have full-time jobs. We have families. We have a lot going on. So any help goes a long way. If you want to go the extra mile, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/America Red Devils. We're trying to get to 100 Patreon subscribers. Also, check out our store, AmericaRedDevils.com. Click on AmericaRedDevils.com. You can click on store. We're also AmericaRedDevils.com. AmericaRedDevils.store, sorry. Our merch is awesome. Beanies, hoodies, etc. They're all very high quality. Alex is in charge of shipping them out, so we'll give you some stickers as well. Write a review on iTunes. Sir, you got a top downloads last 7 days here?
You know it, sir. Number one, how you doing? St. Joseph, Michigan, the Bronx, New York, Columbus, Ohio, Morgantown, West Virginia, Toronto, Canada, Homedale, New Jersey, Dallas, Texas, Laurelton, New Jersey, Yangchungu, South Korea, and last but not least, Belfast, Ireland. Appreciate all the America Devils listening week in, week out. We could not do it without you. Big match coming up on the weekend. We got City at the Empty Hat. Erling Holland, sir. Let's not let him score a hat trick on us. That'd be too much.
Hey.
You got what do you got to that? What are the Holland odds? Hat trick. I think it's pretty good. It's probably like plus 400.
Dude, I don't know, man. There was some Twitter Muppets tweeting some videos of Martinez isolating Holland when he played for Dortmund and Ajax in the Champions League when their paths crossed. So one can hope. You can't control the outcome as a player, right? You got VAR, the footballing gods. You can bounce your way, not bounce your way. Just like fight for the badge. Don't get embarrassed. Put in a performance that fans can be proud of. Obviously, things cannot go your way on the day, but control what you can control. And I just don't want to be embarrassed.
Well said. Well said, sir.
This is a rough month. October is an opponent in and of itself. How many games we have at 9 fixtures? I just don't want to be embarrassed. So please, United. You got a song for us?
Sir,
lead us out here?
There's only one option we could have with the opponent. Sir, we fought in France, fought in Spain. Kick it in blue. Enjoy it. Enjoy the match this weekend, and we'll talk to you all soon.